This is horrific music for this subject. You're like playing the... What is it called? What's that tune called? By the way, the American lifestyle is terrible right now. The Americans are suffering like nobody else. Suicide rates are sky high. Like, come on, man. Okay, pretty high, but we're gonna do another segment. Why the American empire is rapidly declining. Let's take a look.
When the Soviet Union officially dissolved in 1991, it was a landmark event in world history. The United States emerged from World War II.
I don't think that it actually dissolved in 1991, sir. I dare say. When did the Soviet Union dissolve? 1991. Fine. You win this time.
And the Cold War
I'm losing
as
the
the
debate.
world's lone superpower. Hegemony is defined as the position of being the strongest and most powerful, and therefore able to control others. That is precisely what the US experienced in the 1990s. In the wake of the Soviet collapse, some Western commentators gleefully proclaimed that the end of history had occurred. They declared that the American system would dominate the world forevermore. However, fast forward 30 years
that ideology has destroyed the liberal mind.
to today, and things are looking very different from those predictions. In the 2020s, countries like China and Russia have re-emerged as powerful forces who act against Washington. Many countries no longer see America as a...
I'm sorry, Russia and China do not have anything on our military. Like, economically, don't get me wrong, China is, I believe, I don't know much about it, but from what I understand, China is definitely coming up on us, but like, militarily, nobody's can hold a candle to us.
good or rational
We got the biggest
actor on
guns.
the world stage. This viewpoint is increasingly shared even by countries considered
Oh no! God forbid we see America's flaws as flaws. See that again.
Many countries no longer see America as a good or rational actor on the world stage.
I wonder whose fault that
This viewpoint
is.
is increasingly shared even by countries considered democratic, like India and Brazil. Not only is
Maybe we'd be seen as a good and rational actor if we like let people have health care. You know, it'd be a great start. Like maybe make it so that if you get cancer, you don't go into bankruptcy. You know, like I'm just putting it out there.
America losing influence abroad, quality of life in America is objectively getting worse.
Maybe if we made it so that when you get cancer, you don't have to like go bankrupt.
To name just some metrics over the last decade, America is the only developed country where life expectancy
Maybe if you made it so that
is dropping. The birth rate is the lowest in history, while drug deaths and suicide, known as deaths of despair, are the highest in history. These realities are reflected
I
in
can't
polls of
imagine
how
why.
Americans see the state of...
this is horrific music for this subject. You're like playing the... What is it called? What's that tune called? By the way, the American lifestyle is terrible right now. The Americans are suffering like nobody else. Suicide rates are sky high. Like, come on, man.
the country. 2/3 say the country is getting worse every year. As of 2023,
I thought it was
only
a waltz,
11% rate American morality as good or better, while over 50% rate it
Like the
as
classic
poor.
waltz song.
This means that roughly half of Americans think the country is morally bankrupt. In this video, I'll
Listen, we're kind of doing a genocide, so like, yeah.
examine why the age of American world hegemony is ending, how other countries are reacting, and why these changes mark a new era of world history.
There's a lot of red dots.
We live in a time where so many people have fallen out of touch with their heritage. That's why I've partnered with this video sponsor, myheritage.com.
Oh God, the only reason you would ever want to do a heritage test is to see if you have like cancer in your background. Cancer that, by the way, you'll go into crippling debt for. But anyway, that's the only reason, is to see like your health history. Other than that, I don't give a dude. I really do not care. And I find it weird that people do care.
MyHeritage is the leading global service for family history research. It gives you a fun
See,
and
like, who
easy
gives a
way to
shit?
build.
Oh, I thought he was saying, like, my heritage is that somebody made a leading global search. Sorry.
My
I'm a
heritage
little
is
too
the
high for
leading
this.
global.
Yeah, we follow the white race. I mean, people in general in the United States have fallen out of touch with their heritage. You know what would have helped a lot of people with their heritage if we didn't have slavery?
America has suffered catastrophic backslides on key areas that show the health of society. In foreign affairs, the world
I mean, it was with Otro. It was a conservative heritage talking point. Make no mistake. It just happened to also be a sponsorship.
is also becoming more independent of American influence. There are many
No, not
multifaceted
independence.
reasons for this. The biggest major factor is
I can't believe that a nation would declare independence from a greater power. What nation would ever do that?
internal. An ever-increasing number of Americans simply no longer support American power abroad. Many are even checking out of the idea of America itself. A big cause of this is the
Gee, maybe it would help if, like, I could have my house with my white picket fence, 2.5 kids, a dog, and a cat. You know, like I was promised. I was promised that, man, by my parents' generation. And you know what I got? Diddly squat. I'm still living in a I mean, I love my life right now. Don't get me wrong, but I don't got any of that shit. I can only dream to afford a house right now. No shot.
that American institutions simply do not act in the interest
Maybe
of
I'd believe
the
in
majority
America a little more if I
population.
had that.
While
at
the
least.
American GDP continues to rise, this increase is mostly concentrated under multinational corporations and billionaires. In
Agreed.
recent decades, the American
He's just okay. So this is don't let them get you caught in the populist trap. He's going to now appeal to like the elites. Okay, don't worry. He's not going to say anything about taxing the rich or breaking up monopolies or anything like that. No, it's fine. Calm down. Calm down. He's not going there with that.
American economy has become extremely centralized under just a few monopolistic and duopolistic companies who own just about everything. Despite this supposed economic growth, the
And we
average
should
American
do-
citizen has not seen their standard of living rise. This is reflected in polls that show how most
What should we do
citizens
about it?
believe the economy is getting worse.
What
It
should we do
is,
about it?
For them. One group is especially dissatisfied with the state of
Wow.
modern America. White Americans, the majority population. And
Yes, white Americans. Definitely not black Americans. Black Americans are living it up right now. If you're a black American, I see you, you privileged okay? I see you. No, white Americans are the ones suffering. True.
they have ample reason to be angry. White Americans are discriminated against in employment and the university
Go piss on it. Come on. This is not discrimination. No, that's not the policy. No.
system, disempowering them from society. This is very consequential because universities are where a society
They said, hey, let a few black people in. Let a few black people in. They all immediately shat themselves. They're like, you know what they turned into? Wait. Yes. Conservative institutions, when you tell them that you must hire one close parentheses, black person. No!
society's future elites are trained. This discrimination is so bad that in 2023, the Supreme Court ruled that universities had to end affirmative action policies that were discriminating against
Put that in the thumbnail. That's a good idea. Maybe I will.
whites and Asians. Despite this ruling, top universities
Hold on. Race-conscious admissions programs at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina, effectively prohibiting affirmative action policy. Yeah, they should be trying to raise the number of black, Hispanic, and other underrepresented minority students because right now they are discriminated against on a systemic scale. Systemically. They're systemically discriminated against. So there's fewer of them at the higher echelons. So we should have been trying to uplift them disproportionately. Yes.
immediately announced that they would find
Make it
ways to get
fair.
around the decision. On the demographic level, white Americans are about to dip below 60% of
Every time you mention something, hey, maybe something should be more fair, conservatives are like, well, life's not fair. Okay, but like, let's make it more fair. Have you ever thought like let's just make it more fair? Like maybe like let's give black people a better chance to like succeed. You know, like make it. It doesn't have to be like perfect. It's never gonna be perfect, but like make it more fair. Conservatives had a problem making things just more fair. You know, like it sucks. It sucks. Like I hate them, man.
the country's population for the first time in history. When told that more white
Oh wait, no, we're doing white replacement. It was right on the screen in front of me, and I didn't even acknowledge it. We're doing white replacement.
of the country's population for the first time
Not me, white population. No.
in history.
Soon we'll be at 49%. And then we'll only make up the largest demographic of people in the United States, not the majority of the entire population. No! No!
When told that more white Americans are dying than being born,
there will
many in
barely be
America
any.
cheer.
It's basically
The
white
results
extinction.
of the 2020 census just came out, and for the first time in American history,
You know what? If you really think about it, the Democrats are doing the same thing that we did to the Native Americans way back in the day. You should look that up, what we did to them. That was pretty terrible. Democrats are basically doing the same thing
the
to
number
white
of
people.
white people went down.
That's the thing that's happening.
It's
Yeah,
become
who
common
cares?
knowledge that hate crime laws are rarely enforced.
By the way, guess what? If you have an interracial marriage and you have a kid that's both black and white, guess what they consider that? Not white. Why would they not consider that white? The one drop rule. Racists. Racists. That's what they are. You have a bunch of interracial children, you die as the white guy, and then the white population dips. Because whiteness is based on racism. That's why it's fake.
when a victim is white, even when anti-white racial hate is obvious. White Americans have responded to all of these things with what can only be described as disaffection, and this has real consequences.
Who gives a
US
shit? Sorry, like, white people don't get discriminated against for being white. Not on a broad scale, like maybe in minor pockets, but not on a broad systemic scale. It's not a real problem.
Army can no longer reach its recruiting goals, and this is largely due to whites no longer signing up. To give some numbers,
It's not just, like, it's not even just white people. It's like literally everybody. Nobody wants to sign up for the military, commit a major portion of my life to armed service. No thank you. I'd rather jerk off.
44,000 white recruits joined the
I'd rather
Army in
sip Diet
2018,
Mountain Dew and jerk
but
off.
this number cratered to just 25,000 in 2023. In the same
That's a
time
skill
period,
issue.
whites went from 56%
Maybe they should make the army like the military more accommodating to more groups of people, first of all. Second of all, make it so that they're not like usually assisting horrific atrocities overseas. You know, give them a better image. Make it so that we're helping people instead of hurting them. You know, like make it at all appealing. Just make it at all appealing to join. I'm just saying.
of new recruits to only 44%.
I feel like this
Even
shit's
military
obvious.
leaders attribute this to a drop in rural white recruitment. One Army official told military.com, "There's a level of prestige in parts of conservative America with service that has degraded."
Dude, people are not getting denied service from the military because they're white. Show me where that's happening. If you can show me that that's happening, I will concede this point. But I guarantee you that you cannot. Okay? That is not happening anywhere ever at all. They're not discriminating against white people in the military, you fucking dipshit.
But it's not just the military. The journalist Jeremy Carl wrote, "White college enrollment for 18 to 24-year-olds has dropped from 43% in 2010 to 38% in 2021, the sharpest drop for any major ethnic group."
That could just mean that the population of students of other colors has gone up, right? That are applying? That could literally just be a shift in other populations over the course of 11 years. Like, it could still be that the same number of white people proportionally are still going to college, like enrolling in college, but the other numbers have just gone up, which would make sense, by the way. Like, that would be good. That'd be a good thing. Like, who cares?
Enrollment is down sharply among white men, the group that has historically led America's institutions. Whites, as a percentage of medical students, are also...
Well, he really is just like racist, isn't he? Like, he's not hiding his power level at all. He's just like, no, you don't understand. White people need to be in charge. You see, white people need to be in charge, you see, because reasons. I don't want black people in charge. No. It must be white people. Like, what?
well below their population numbers. Both Democrats and Republicans have done nothing to address these problems.
Oh,
Many
no.
white Americans are simply asking
No.
themselves, why should I care about a country that doesn't care about me?
It's true. America, famous for not caring about its
Answer
white
for
population.
an ever-increasing number is that they owe America nothing.
Which it doesn't, by the way. It doesn't. America hates white people, but guess what? It hates other groups of people way more, all right? Just because white people sometimes get the shaft is not on account of being white, okay? You are way more likely to be poor if you're a color other than white. That is simply a fact. So you can be poor, and you can have a shit job or no job, and you can be living on the streets or whatever and be white, and still be suffering, and I recognize you're suffering, and I know that white people are suffering because this country hates white people, make no mistake, but it doesn't hate them because they're white, it hates them because they're people, okay? This country hates people. It's not just white people, man, and I can prove it. I can back that with data. Like, shut the up.
This is connected to another problem in America. The American system no longer produces strong families and communities at a level to sustain itself. Strong families
Make it easier
produce
for people to have
citizens with
babies
good
then.
values and instincts who propel society forward. For a society to even
Guaranteed against universal health care. Guess what universal health care would do? Raise the white population. It would. Maybe not proportionally, but there would be, strictly speaking, more white people. So maybe you would. Hey, racist. Here's how you introduce the idea of universal health care to races. Guess what? If Johnny down the street doesn't have to worry about childcare expenses, he might be more likely to have a child. You know, white Johnny, the guy that you talk about black people with all the time, who doesn't have a child because he can't afford his insulin, and he blames black people for that. Yeah, that guy. If you couldn't tell, I hate these people so much.
reproduce itself,
They never
each
address the real
family must have
problem.
at least 2 children. But in America, this number fell from over 3 children per family in the 1960s to 1.7 today. To keep the
I don't
population
care.
growing, the government has allowed in tens of millions of immigrants.
It's
But this mass
literally,
immigration-
it's literally conservative politics that have made it harder to have children. Literally. First name White, last name Johnny. Or Johnny White actually would work. Hey, little Johnny White. That actually would work.
has its own negative consequences. Research like Robert Putnam's book,
Now that
Bowling
sounds like an
Alone,
anti-white
details
slur,
how
Johnny
mass
White.
immigration reduces social trust and community participation. People like being able to trust
Hold
that
on,
their
I missed that
neighbors.
part. Sorry.
To
Yeah, we
keep
saw
the
that.
population growing, the government has allowed in tens of millions of immigrants. But this mass immigration has its own
That wasn't to keep the population going. That was just they took wait. Millions? Yeah, tens of millions. Most of those immigrants are like aren't most of those immigrants legal? He's not even specifying illegal immigrants. He's not even specifying that they didn't enter legally. He's just saying immigrants. Fuck you.
immigrants. But this mass
Disgusting.
immigration has its own negative consequences. Research like Robert Putnam's book, Bowling Alone, details how mass immigration reduces social trust and community participation.
See, it's still racism when you specify that it's illegal immigrants that you don't like, but like at least the mask is still on. He's just saying, no, I hate brown people coming into the country. Brown people coming into the country? No, that's bad. No. Can't have that.
People like being able to trust that their neighbors are similar to them and share their values and history. That quality seems to have been
Wow,
lost.
he
in
really
modern
is just a white
America.
supremacist.
Our research shows that the more diverse a
Fuck this
community,
guy.
the lower the level of social trust in that community. Volunteerism and philanthropy,
What research shows that? Robert Putnam?
a community, the lower the level of
Here, let's take a look. Does diversity create distrust? From the Scientific American by Daisy Gruel. In 2007, the Harvard professor Robert Putnam published a paper that appeared to challenge the benefits of living in a racially diverse society. Putnam's study, which used a large, nationally representative sample of nearly 30,000 Americans, found that people living in more diverse areas reported lower levels of trust in their neighbors. They also reported less interest in voting, volunteering, and giving to charity. In other words, greater diversity seemed to be linked to both feelings and behaviors that threaten a sense of community. The finding was alarming to many people, including Putnam himself, because the U.S. continues to grow in racial and ethnic diversity with each passing decade. Cited widely. Refutes Putnam's conclusion. So, sociologist Maria Abascal of Princeton University and Delia Baldassari of New York University published a paper last year which refutes Putnam's conclusions. After reanalyzing the same dataset used by Putnam, Abascal and Baldassari asserted that when it comes to distrust and diversity, most of the distrust is expressed by whites who feel uncomfortable living amongst racial minorities. Would you imagine that? In other words, greater distrust may stem from prejudice rather than from diversity per se. Therefore, Putnam's conclusion that racial diversity leads to less altruism and cooperation amongst neighbors was incorrect. If there's a downside to diversity, it has less to do with the behavior of racial minorities and more to do with how whites feel when living amongst non-whites. A great case of being technically correct, but in the wrong direction. Good job, Robert.
of social trust in that
Little
community.
Robbie.
Volunteerism and philanthropy and civic engagement, involvement in the community.
It was
all
the
of that tends
whites.
to
It was
decline.
always the
On
whites.
top of this, mass immigration hurts the labor force and housing markets. Multinational
74 likes on YouTube. Like the stream. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like the YouTube video.
corporations love it, since it lets them pay their employees far less. These policies continue whether Democrats or Republicans are elected. The only thing that could really change the status quo would be the rise of a third party, but this has proven extremely
We'll call it the National Socialist Party.
difficult. Third parties in America struggle to even get on the ballot or into debates,
That's a good name.
let alone achieve a majority vote. This is all made worse by the fact that in over 95% of American elections, the candidate with more money wins. Americans
True! Guess whose fault that is? Hey guys, I got a secret for you. Guess what fault? The fault that belongs to starts with the C and rhymes with capitalism.
see this, and as a result, most hate Congress and believe the government doesn't represent them. According to one recent poll, a majority of Americans now believe the US government is a declining empire led by corrupt politicians. Now let's talk in terms of foreign policy. Despite
Kind of, but they're not corrupt for the reasons that you think they're corrupt. They're not. You're just wrong.
the decline at home, the American establishment continues to support a form of American globalism, a system where America dominates the world and rewrites international law to its own benefit. But decades of American decline and disaffection has made this much more difficult.
Okay, I don't understand, like, the problem with globalism. Like, it's just racism, right? It has to be, because globalism is just unambiguously a good thing. Yeah. We should have, like, a thriving global population. We all live on the same planet. I would think that we would all want to take care of it and live on it together cooperatively, rather than, like, you know, uncooperatively and at war with each other constantly. I would think we'd all want that. But apparently globalism is bad. Like, I don't even understand where they're coming from with that one. It doesn't make a shred of sense to me.
Even at the height of its power, the American government engaged in debacles like the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, where trillions were spent for little gain. In Afghanistan, the country had to be
For a little gain, and also a lot of people died, but yeah, a little gain.
abandoned after 20 years
it.
because the American system failed to establish democracy there. Indeed, the democratic government they established was more useless than anyone could have imagined. Once American troops withdrew, it collapsed to the Taliban in just a month. For comparison, when America withdrew from Vietnam, South Vietnam held out for 2 years. Despite
Yeah, it fell to the Taliban because we weren't there to help. What? Yeah, like that makes sense to me. I don't know the history. He could be lying out of his ass, but I assume he's probably got some truth here, right? So like, yeah, it probably fell to the Taliban because America was not there to help. America was not trying to help, man. What? Like, it wasn't trying to improve that place. That's stupid. You're stupid for suggesting that.
trillions upon trillions of dollars being spent on failures, the American government continues to spend more money on its military than the next 9 countries in the world
I agree, that's
combined.
bad.
Meanwhile, the NATO alliance, while getting bigger with new members, does have growing cracks. America's surveillance state
Cracks.
has acted indiscriminately to spy on both rivals and allies. Among America's friends, French and German leaders are the most commonly targeted with espionage. This begs the question of why this strong alliance relies on spying on its own members. Scandals like this have greatly damaged America's reputation, as it claims to be a champion of freedom. Instead, it's now become a popular saying, "It may be dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be America's friend is fatal."
Has this become a popular saying? No. I think that you want to be America's friend. Ukraine is our friend. Palestine is not. Israel is. Trust me. Trust me. I've never heard of this. Like, you 1000% want to be America's friend. What? Nobody says this. Nobody says this.
American leadership has further torched its international moral authority by offering endless support to Israel in its war on Gaza. American
Whoa. Yeah. Americans funded Israel. So you're saying that, like, they're friends with us and like us, right?
money and weapons continue to flow even as the Israelis commit some of the worst war crimes against civilians of the
I can't stand it when, like, people like him are talking about, like, people that they do not give a single solitary fuck about being killed by Israel, because I guarantee you it's just Nazi posting. it's just Nazi posting. The Jews are doing it, right? Right, man? Like, he's not wrong here. Yeah, this was bad. But, like, I don't buy that you actually give a single solitary about them.
21st century.
I don't buy it.
Since 2023,
I'm not being charitable.
America has given billions in aid to Israel, including over 15,000 bombs. These bombs were promptly dropped on Palestinian civilians. Despite the massive bipartisan
I can't buy
backlash to
it.
these policies, U.S. leadership has continued on and vetoed 3 UN ceasefire proposals.
Okay, hey, let's talk about bringing some of the Palestinians over here for aid, right? Let's talk about bringing some of them over here because they can't literally go anywhere else. Oh, sorry, we can't take them. We're full up. Yeah, you don't give a shit about Palestinians, man.
But even with full American backing, the combination of
brown
Hamas,
people.
Hezbollah, Iran, and the Houthis are putting the continuation of Israel's existence into question.
Hold on.
Continued on and vetoed 3 UN ceasefire proposals. But even with full American backing, the combination of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and the Houthis are putting the continuation of Israel's existence into question. China, Russia, and
The continuation of Israel's existence? He's trying to... Wait, is he trying to play both sides? Yeah, he's got to do the racism, too. Because he's trying to say that, like, they're, like, that group of people is, like, a real threat, right? Like, I don't know. I can't take anything he says seriously.
and many others have all endorsed a Palestinian state to the outrage of Washington. And Russia and China are going beyond just words. In 2024, they took measures to reconcile Hamas and the Palestinian Authority in order to move forward with the creation of a
Sorry, I gotta go back.
Russia and China are going beyond just words. In 2024, they took measures to reconcile Hamas and the Palestinian Authority in order to move forward with the creation of a Palestinian state. America, seen as a bad faith actor completely in bed with Israel, was ignored. It was once believed that Israel could stand on its own without America, but today it's obvious that the American system is propping Israel up despite the severe damage this causes to American interests and credibility. The international scholar John Mearsheimer tributes this to the power
He just doesn't like Jews. I guarantee you that his hatred for Jews is so strong that it extends to the Israeli conflict.
of the Israeli lobby over American politics.
Realist logic
The Palestinian genocide, I should say.
says that the United States should act in its own strategic interest, and it should pursue policies that make good sense for fostering the security
Yeah, exactly. America bad, but what is his solution?
of the it should pursue policies that make good sense for fostering the security of the United States. And because of the power of the lobby and the ability, therefore, of Israel to get its way in terms of shaping American policy in the Middle East, we end up doing things that are not in our national interest.
See, like the Israeli lobby, like, we're starting to get there a little bit.
This only adds to the view of many that the rules-based international order just means rules for everyone except the US and Israel. It's not just American rivals who are on the move. The rest of the world has noticed America's decline
That did directly conflict with what he said earlier, though, that the last thing you want to be is America's friend. Because clearly Israel's our friend.
and is responding accordingly. Even some countries that are American allies on paper are starting to change their standing. The nation of Hungary is a prime example. For over a decade,
Isn't Hungary like a fascist dictatorship right now? Or something? Like they elected a fascist or something, right? Like, it's not a good place to be.
the Western establishment pressured Viktor Orban to accept mass immigration and transform Hungary into a multiracial
Yeah, see.
state. Simultaneously, they attacked the country for its traditional family values and anti-LGBT policies.
Yeah, that's a good thing. They should have done that. Good. Yeah, gay people should be allowed to exist anywhere. Yeah, I don't give a if you call it traditional family values, you spineless prick. I
However,
don't care.
Viktor Orban
You just hate gay people, and you can't have some balls and say it.
refused to
Just
budge
say it.
and suffered massive penalties for his principled stance. Today, Hungary is able to align itself with China and Russia to avoid such bullying. Unlike
Traditional
the EU,
family
they
values,
aren't
just
asking
say
Hungary
it.
to become an immigrant or LGBT-friendly nation. They simply want cooperation. As a result, in 2024, China and Hungary
Wow, that's because China's also homophobic, man. Imagine that.
signed a cooperation agreement. This came despite anger and threats from the US diplomat to Hungary, who threatened America would try to overthrow the Hungarian government for its actions. Behind closed doors, Hungary now considers the US an enemy due to its hostility to their values.
Okay, them. What? We could nuke them. What? We could send them to Kingdom Come, brother. What the fuck are you talking about? Hungry? I'm feeling pretty hungry right now. Might gobble them up. What the? We're America, brother. We can take them. We can take all of them.
Orban and Hungary have set the standard for how small nations can protect their sovereignty in the new multipolar world. When one power is trying to bully you, simply start working with others. The case of Hungary is a reminder that there are still many in the Western world who actually want to conserve their nations and not just sell them out. Other groups doing this include
In the Western world, right.
Salvador under Nayib Bukele and Alternative for Deutschland in Germany. Bukele has thrown out American human rights considerations when dealing with El Salvador's drug cartels. Despite cries from American NGOs demanding that drug dealers be set free, Bukele's policies dropped El Salvador's crime rate by over half.
Fame, power.
What's with this guy and using Tchaikovsky music? First, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy,
That's what it was.
now Blue Danube.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, no, wait. The first one wasn't Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. That was, the waltz of some kind. Some kind of waltz. Thank you for another 5 tier 1 gifted subs. Very kind of you. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just copyright free, I guess. Is why he's doing it. El Salvador murders plummet by over half in 2022 amid gang crackdown.
Set free, Bukele's policies dropped El
What's his name?
Alternative for Deutschland. Groups doing this include El Salvador under Nayib Bukele.
Bukele states Bitcoin was an effective rebranding tool for El Salvador. Ah, yes, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, baby! That's right. Here, okay, let me zoom in. Bitcoin! Oh, it's so poggers! El Salvador calls Bitcoin experiment resounding success with only benefits. What did he do? Extolled the merits of El Salvador's rocky experiment with Bitcoin, telling Time that it has been a resounding success that ultimately allowed the Central American country to collect nothing but benefits. Made Bitcoin legal tender, becoming the first country in the world to do so. Can now conduct Bitcoin transactions across the countries from McDonald's to hotels. The positive outcomes outweigh the negative. That's a terrible idea. More of his countrymen haven't gotten behind Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't had the widespread adoption we hoped for. Many Salvadorans use it, he said, not citing the fact that adoption rates are actually declining, with only 12% of citizens using it in the last year compared to 21% in 2022. It's resounding success, yes. Yes. He's doing so well over there. Problem with El Salvador's crime numbers has been undercounting homicides. Cue foreignpolicy.com. Oh, no! I thought I could stop loading the page. Anyway, they've been undercounting homicide rates. That's pretty cool.
And Alternative for Deutschland in Germany. Bukele
just
has
fudge
thrown
the
out
numbers a little
American
bit.
human rights considerations when
I
dealing
didn't think
with
it'd
El
be that
Salvador's
simple,
drug
honestly.
cartels. Despite cries from American NGOs demanding that drug dealers be
I thought I was going to have to go into a thing of like, yeah, well, technically the crime went down, but here's the thing about this and that. No, he's just fudging the numbers.
set free, Bukele's policies dropped El Salvador's crime rate by over half. This drove his approval rating to over 90%. It turns out, actually locking up criminal gangs instead of letting them terrorize society is a good idea.
How did the criminal gangs form in the first place? They formed because they want money, right? Maybe we should take some money and redistribute it from the people who have lots of it and give it to people who have less of it. And then we'll be less likely to see drug cartels and gangs because they won't be driven by profit nearly as much. Like people will just have... People don't want to join drug cartels. They don't do that because they want to do it. It's a glamorous position. They do it because they're poor and they're trying to feed their families a lot of the time. Like they don't do it for funsies. Feed people. House them. Then maybe they will be less likely to join a gang.
Meanwhile, AfD's platform in Germany speaks volumes. Their policies include making Germany a homeland for Germans and stopping mass immigration.
Whoa, hey, they've never done that. Germany's never done that.
Protecting Germany's Christian culture, and depending less on America and becoming friendlier to Russia and China.
Famously, Germany has never done that.
Under this platform, they're now one of the most popular parties in Germany despite major suppression from the state.
Oh no.
Among German youth, they are the most popular party.
No, what happened, guys?
Suffered.
Stop! No, they're the country that killed Hitler. What? No, you can't do this to me.
From sanctioning Russia, who provided massive raw materials for
Did you guys hear the leader of Germany killed Hitler?
their industries. Many Germans today are wondering exactly
Way
why
back
they
in the
should
day?
consider Russia an enemy. After all, part of why the NATO alliance was created, in the words of its first Secretary General Lord Ismay, is to keep the Russians out, the Americans in, and the Germans down. I wonder why Germans might have a problem with that. The 2022 sabotage
Well, hold on. In the context of World War II, I feel like this is fine. Like, down boy. Okay, you've done enough fascism for a few decades now. Down boy. Or I guess it wasn't decades. It was like 8 decades.
I wonder why Germans might have a problem with that. The 2022 sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline has only escalated this discontent. It's deeply ironic that America today uses its global power to push for feminism, LGBT, and mass immigration. During the Cold War, the US
Hold on, one more time.
It's deeply ironic that America today uses its global power to push for feminism, LGBT, and mass immigration.
Those are all incredibly based. I wish we had more of all three of those.
During the Cold War, the US positioned itself as the champion of Christianity and family values against Soviet.
Oh look, we got good old JFK. Didn't he do like the most socialist policies ever in American history with Social Security? That was him, right? And the New Deal. Like that was like the closest we ever got to socialism. What?
Soviet atheism. But today, it's China and Russia who say they stand for family values and heteronormativity.
Mind-blowing
Both countries
policy,
back
true.
this up by banning LGBT propaganda. Russia added the LGBT movement to its list of extremist
Yeah, because they're homophobic as
and
shit.
China has gone as far as banning depictions of feminine men in media.
Yeah, because
This
they're
presents a
homophobic
diplomatic
as
problem
shit.
for America, since heterosexual values are the values of the vast majority of humanity.
You're wrong. Okay, maybe for the majority of humanity, but I live in America, good sir. And for most of Americans, they're fine with gay marriage and trans people. So f you.
American leadership has responded to all of these problems with economic
And by the way, I don't go with the crowd, okay? You can't make me conform. I believe in queer values regardless of who else believes in them. If there is 1,000 people left on the planet who believe in queer values, I'm one of them. If there's one person left on the planet who believes in queer values, it's me. If there's 0 people left, I am dead.
sanctions, a powerful weapon in their arsenal. According to the Washington Post, the US is currently sanctioning 1/3 of the states in the entire world. This is 3 times as many sanctions as applied by any other government or organization. In the 1990s, Iraq was starved into submission by American sanctions. But countries are learning more every year.
Not that I care, because they, you know, they don't believe in the same God that I do.
In how to
So.
dodge this problem. Mainstream outlets acknowledge that Russia's economy has resiliently weathered sanctions.
He only ever cares. Like,
American sanctions.
he's
But
not
countries are
wrong.
learning more every year in how to dodge this problem. Mainstream
But like, I can't be convinced that he cares. You can't convince me that he cares.
outlets acknowledge that Russia's economy has resiliently weathered sanctions. Its oil exports have found new markets, and its gross domestic product is projected.
You know what it is? It is I figured it out. It's an appeal to like American isolationism. America can't get involved anywhere else because he wants an ethno-state. That's what it is. He like pretends to care about people overseas because he wants an ethno-state. And he pretends to like care about their needs and their wants and desires, because a lot of people who want an ethno-state argue that like, well, you see, if we just divide the white people away from the brown people and the black people and the Asian people, well, then you'll see that like ethno-states are actually a good thing for all of us. Like they pretend like it's because they're spineless pricks and they can't just admit that they're white supremacist pieces of shit.
projected to grow a healthy 2.6% this year.
That's why he's
Iran
pretending
and
to
China
care.
have also found ways to grow stronger despite sanctions. All 3 nations have replaced their dependence on embargoed markets with new markets in Latin America, Asia, and India. When measured by Purchasing Power Index, China's economy is now larger than America's. It's become clear that the American government's control
Bye,
over the
Marceline.
global economy is
Have a
not
good night.
what it used to be. If you watched my video on the French Revolution,
That is
you
true,
know that when
technically.
state debt reaches a point of no return,
America
it usually
is losing
spells
control
doom
over the
for
economy.
an empire. Starting this year, the US now spends more on debt service than defense, something that also came during the decline of the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the French monarchy, and more.
I hate this idea of the United States as like a dying empire. Like, and also like the fetishization of empires in general. Like, why the f do you want to live in an empire so bad? That's weird as f, dude.
Perhaps this metric is the most revealing
I live
about
in a
the fate of
democracy.
the American empire. So, to recap, America is in decline because it betrayed the very things that made it strong: white people and family values.
Yeah, he's not hiding his power level at all, guys.
While it presented itself as a champion of Christianity in the Cold War, it now spreads the opposite of Christian values globally.
Like, holy
In
shit.
the 2020s, not only has America lost
The opposite of Christian values, like being gay. Well, f Christian values then. Your religion sucks ass. I'll wipe my ass with your Bible, dude. Like, f you. No, away with that. This is why people don't like you anymore. Stop!
its position as the world's
Family
sole
values my
superpower,
ass. Just say
the
you
decline
hate
of
queer
quality
people.
of life within America is sending it into second world status. There's no doubt that America still remains a powerful force in the world, but the days of the unipolar moment are over. More sovereign states will now act in their own best interests rather than give blind deference to Washington. Instead of fighting this, America should work on fixing its own internal problems. Unfortunately,
What would benefit all of us is just like working together. Have you guys ever thought about that? Just like holding hands and singing Kumbaya as like an entire planet. We should all just get along. Unironically though, it would benefit China and Russia to just stop being crazy and ally with us. Like, that would benefit them. You know? Like, I don't see how it couldn't. You know, I'm just saying.
the Western establishment probably won't do this. They'll double down and call for more wars, more interventions, and demonize foreign powers instead of cleaning up their own mess. This may lead to war in the very near future. I want to make absolutely clear I stand 100% against any new US war abroad, regardless of the justification or excuse.
He thinks that, see, he putting this in because he thinks that this makes him a good person. Shove it up your ass, dude. This does not make you a good person, you white supremacist scum.
History is back in motion and the world is rapidly changing. Fortunately, this will present many opportunities for
I'm a good person. I don't want war. Yeah, all you want is ethno-states. Go piss on it.
positive change in the future. Let's make sure we take advantage of those opportunities.
Spineless.
This has
Spineless
been
and
Pax,
ballless.
Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment letting me know.
You, man. Piece of shit. Hate that guy.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.